What's up, everybody? It's Esper here. I'm making this video about maps, in particular fantasy maps, which I create. Call them world maps or kingdom maps or regional maps, if you will. Just a couple days ago, Tim from channel Samwise7RPG interviewed me. He also interviewed Meta Rockwell that same day, and he spoke with Meta Rockwell about making maps and drawing inspiration from real-world mythology and culture. And I was really interested in that topic because it's something that I have done quite a bit throughout my entire life as a gamer. As well, Chris Perkins, who is a DM that I look up to quite a bit, released an article on the Wizards website talking about the maps that he makes. So I wanted to put one of my own out, kind of in light of all that. What you are looking at here is my world map. It's about as basic as my maps can go. They are just basic outlines, and I strictly use this to get a sense of where all the kingdoms are in relation to each other and how big they are. If you were just starting off world building, I probably wouldn't recommend actually going this route. It's actually better to start with a small map, but I've been building my world for quite some time, so I got to the point where actually having a world map is very helpful for me. Okay, let's get into some of the kingdom and regional maps. This one is of Berland. That's the kingdom version. We're going to go into some regional areas here. You'll see to the left is Bontavia. That's where Argyle and Brenna live. It's the capital city of this kingdom. The inspiration for Berland draws from medieval England and Ireland and sort of what you think of as your traditional Western European fantasy, Celtic mythology with fairies and dwarves and elves and good old times, knights and castles. This is Pelagos, draws heavily from ancient Greece, to a lesser extent, ancient Rome. This is Morea, which I draw a lot from southwestern United States, or I guess I should say southwestern North America, going into like the rocky barrens and badlands and kind of what you think of as like your rocky cacti growing temperate arid regions. This is Tifris. I would draw from Eastern Europe and Slavic nations. Also has kind of a more, I don't know, Gothic feeling to it overall, gypsies and whatnot. This is Scornhole, actually not really drawing from anywhere in the real world, possibly the most dangerous kingdom in the world in Esperia. Terribly forbidding environments, full of all sorts of nasty monsters, no true settlements of note. All of these maps that I've been showing here, they are based off of drawings which I have done, and then I treat them in Photoshop and piece them together from various templates and palettes which I create myself. So it's all very custom and gives it a neat look, a unique look. This next kingdom map, though, I'm doing differently. This is Sune, which, if you can't already tell, draws heavily from ancient Japan, medieval Japan, and to a lesser extent, ancient China and southeastern Asia, rather, but highly based in Japanese lore. I'm going for more of a sort of rice paper watercolor feeling on this one. This actually is not complete, but basically I've taken my hand drawing, my pencil drawing, and treated it some in Photoshop. Next, I'm going to show a couple maps which are a completely different style again, things I've been messing around with just over the last day. These are basically drawing on my computer, just doing everything on my computer with my mouse. And I just want to kind of show you sort of behind the scenes, a step-by-step process of how I made these. So this first one I'm doing is an island. And I would think of this as a regional map. This is actually a pretty small island. It's not the size of an entire kingdom. So I just start off by drawing an outline. The next thing that's helpful for me is to find parts of the outline which I don't particularly like. Like here, there's kind of a right angle, and it looks better when you give it more of a jagged, more natural looking shape. Also, I look out for little mistakes or places where the lines don't actually meet, and I patch those over, which will be very helpful later on when I get to filling in color. And then I add a few smaller outlying islands. Then I fill in some color where I think the beaches and the more sandy shorelines are, where a person might be able to land a boat or dock a boat. Next, I fill in some green, which might represent a jungle, a rainforest, or maybe just an area of vegetation. And I also get a line where I believe the cliffs might begin, the more rocky, mountainous type areas. I'm going for elevation, a completely bird's eye view elevation in this map. It's topographical. So these lines that I'm filling in here are used to show elevation, as you can probably surmise. And then I go into filling in my browns, which will give a good mountain, cliff, rock, stone, very earth tone. And about this point then I start going into treating it more with filters and textures. So I want to leave a sense of that crisp feeling, but I can't have that too simple black line coloring book feeling to it. It just doesn't feel right to me. The textures and the filters really are what take it to the next level. Then I put in the water, get a nice sea blue here. So this really, the color I gave to the ocean water gives it a nice tropical feeling. Next, for this map, I'm working on some icons. So I just start drawing these with my mouse. I'm very, very zoomed in here, so they'll look very pixelated, very NES 8-bit looking, I feel. But I'm using these icons so I can place them on the map and mark out neat little areas, and it gives it a cool look. So you can kind of see the evolution of a couple of these icons. I've got a cave and a shipwreck and some different things in there. And I'll zoom in a bit here. There's a volcano that I placed in with a nice magma red. So I'll just zoom in some details on these. Here I'm noting the actual elevation in feet, which might be helpful. And then I start putting in the names, just making up names, things that I think sound interesting. As I put a scale at the bottom, which would be helpful. I name the place. As you can see, it has very much a kind of Polynesian, Maori influence to it. And here's a zoom in for some of the detail. The next one I wanted to do something very different on, but something still very beloved to me, a Subterranean or Underdark map. So again, I start off by just hand drawing the different areas, and I start blocking in color. This is really just a process, a process of elimination as you figure out what shades of grays work and what's too dark and what's not dark enough. And then here I go in and start filling in some details of a drow city. That took a little while to put all those details in. And here I'm starting to filter things, refine the look of it all. Next, I put a chamber where there's some phosphorescent fungi illuminating it. And then here is a large cavern where there's basically a forest of stone and stalagmites. And then again, I put my labels on everything, get the nice palette or color theme going on. And unfortunately, iMovie is not good with gradients and dark areas, as you might have noticed on some of my other videos. So this is actually losing a lot of quality here. I apologize for that. If you could see it on my computer, it looks fantastic. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed looking at these maps of mine. I have a lot of fun making them, drawing fantasy maps and reading about mythology and ancient cultures, and really just fantasy in general has always been a passion of mine, and it continually gives me inspiration to do things like this. And then I get to go and use them in my campaigns at home and sometimes on YouTube as well. So, as always, thanks for watching. Happy gaming.